Hey beauties, I'm back with a spring-inspired makeup tutorial for you guys. I wanted to create something bright and colorful, perfect for the season, using some of my absolute favorite products. To begin, I grabbed one of the Oxygen eye masks from V2 Code to act as an eyeshadow shield. These gels help eliminate puffiness, dark circles, and dryness. They've got grapeseed oil, seaweed, white tea, lots of yummy stuff for your skin. They're actually intended to be used for 8 hours overnight, but you can store them in the refrigerator, throw them on for a few hours during the day too, and I love to use them as a prep step before makeup, and you'll see why. I'm using my Tom Ford Soleil Blanc Eye and Cheek palette for this look. I bought this last year, and I don't think I've ever used it on camera, even though I am obsessed with it. There are a few different versions of this palette. They all kind of have a similar look, but I will link them all down below. My eyes have been prepped and primed with Dior Camouflage Concealer and a little Chanel Loose Powder. So on a fluffy brush, I'm going to pick up the blush from the palette and use this as my transition eyeshadow. It may seem kind of odd, but it's actually a technique I picked up from some old Chanel Spring Beauty campaigns. Not only does it save us an extra step of pulling out a typical brown eyeshadow, but it creates a cohesive, kind of monochromatic makeup look. I'm just buffing this all over the crease, and when most of the product has been distributed, I'm just going to use the same brush to blend out over the top of the crease, just to keep it seamless. Next, I'm picking up this cool toned beige eyeshadow on a flat shader brush and swiping it all over my eyelid, inner to outer, just building up the color, which is actually pretty easy since this eyeshadow has great color payoff and a nice silky rich texture. Before moving on, I'm just going to quickly go over the crease with my original fluffy brush. To add dimension, I'm going into this dark plum shadow with a traditional eyeshadow brush that's a little flatter than the fluffy, but a little fluffier than the shader brush, so it's kind of in between. And this is so I can carve out the crease, keeping the shadow precise and condensed, and then pack the color on that outer V area, down on the outer lid, outer crease. Before blending everything out this time, I'm going to use my flat shader brush to pick up these iridescent shimmery eyeshadows. There's a pink and then kind of a bluish purple color. And I'm just going to apply this to the inner and middle eyelid. These shimmery eyeshadows don't have quite the same color payoff as the other colors in the palette, but it's okay because they're beautiful. They're not meant to pack on too much shadow because in that case it would just be a glittery mess. They're pretty sparkly. So it's nice that they're a little bit sheer. Like I said, they're kind of iridescent, so it works out beautifully. Once I've built up the sparkle, I'm going to blend out the dark plum shadow with a fluffy brush before removing the Oxygen eye gels, revealing perfectly clean, hydrated, and plumped under eyes. This makes concealer and the rest of my makeup so much easier to apply because there's no mess, you just toss out the patches and continue. Since it's a spring look, I wanted to brighten my complexion with the Chanel Leblanc Rose Primer. On a duo fiber brush, I always apply this in the middle of my face first and then blend it out from there. You really don't want to distribute this primer evenly all over the face. It kind of defeats the purpose and it would just create a white cast. For foundation, I'm using the Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation because it is so natural even after I build up the coverage. I'm also going to blend this all out with a duo fiber brush, one of my favorites for natural looking foundation. Instead of using concealer, even though I used the Dior concealer to prep and prime my eyelids, I'm going to opt for the YSL Touchy Clot to highlight. I love how thin and easy it is to blend. It creates the illusion of luminosity without ever looking cakey. And I'm blending this out with my favorite concealer brush from Sigma. I've actually had a lot of questions recently about brushes. This is one of my favorite brushes that everybody should own. It's just irreplaceable, and of course I will link it down below. To warm up the skin, I pulled out my Soleil Tan de Chanel Cream Bronzer, one of my favorite products for spring and summer. I had no idea how it would apply with the Duo Fiber brush, but since I use that brush for just about everything else, I went ahead and tried it out and I loved it. I've actually been doing my bronzer this way for the past few days ever since I tried this out. It blends so easily and seamlessly, and it's just effortless. I used a little Chanel loose powder to set my under eyes. This powder is so finely milled, it's so silky and light, you only need a little bit. For blush, I'm going to go back into the Tom Ford palette and use the same shade that we actually used as the transition shade on our eyes. And this blush is a beautiful, cool-toned pink color. A little bit goes a long way, so you really can just take a light touch with it. It's perfect for spring. Next, I'm using the highlighter from the palette, which has quickly become one of my favorites now that I've finally taken this palette out of the drawer. The swatches don't even do it justice. It's so glowy and slightly pink, very angelic looking, and I've received so many compliments and people asking me about what it is since I've started wearing it again. It's worth purchasing the palette just for the highlight. It's that good. So I'm using this on the tops of my cheeks, the bridge of my nose, the ball of my nose, all of the typical places, and I'm also going to quickly use it to highlight my brow bones and inner tear duct before I go over my eyeshadow with the blending brush again just one last time to keep all of the transitions clean. On a small precision brush, I'm going to apply that beigey taupe eyeshadow that we used on the lid underneath my lower lash line. It's really the perfect color to use under the lash line because it'll give some definition, but it's not too dark. For brows, I'm starting with the Dior Brow Styler, and I've updated how I fill them in. So according to Anastasia of Beverly Hills, which of course is the brow expert, the brow should begin right above the center of the nostril. The arch should be right at the angle measured from the center of the nostril through the center of the iris. And then the tail of the brow should end from the center of the nostril to the corner of the eye. So you can measure these 3 places using a pencil and make a little mark if you need to, and then begin filling in accordingly. So I actually had the opportunity to sit down with an Anastasia trainer who measured my face and said I needed to fill my brows a little bit lower to even out the proportions. So now I use those little hairs right below my main brow as sort of a guide. And this is really just to give me a shape to go off of. Since I'm trying to grow in my brows a bit filler, I'm using the Plume Brow Pomade. It has a growth serum in it. So I will fill them in with this whenever I'm done and just brush everything out with a spoolie. A little bit of the pomade goes a very long way, so on the one hand, I think I'll probably have this product for a lifetime, but on the other hand, you have to be very careful or else your brows can become very dark very fast. But other than that, I absolutely love this product. When my brows are finally done, I use a black liquid eyeliner from Chanel, and I gave myself a little wing, and that's before coating my lashes with Le Volume mascara. I'm also using the Plume Lash Serum, and I love it so far. For lips, I'm using this Rouge Coco Stilo by Chanel in the shade number 214 Message, and these lipsticks are very pigmented and hydrating. To add some extra shine, I'm topping off this lip with a lip gloss from Chantecaille. I have a couple of these and I love them all. They're all so beautiful and very smooth. And that completes the look. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave me any of your comments or questions down below. Of course, all of the product links are going to be down in the description box. And don't forget to subscribe.